Once upon a time, a little boy named Jimmy was out walking, and as the snow fell onto the ground, he looked around, searching for warmth and shelter. He could feel the hunger eat him up from the inside as his body started to shiver. He knew he wouldn't survive wearing his ragged clothes and his lousy hat, which always blew off when the wind hit him like a strong muscular hand. He quickly ran into a narrow alley and looked back, expecting to see someone, but there wasn't anyone. Suddenly, a wall lit up nearby, and as he looked around the corner, a police car drove by. With his heart coming out of his chest, he immediately hid behind a trash can. He sat there for what felt like an hour, and then he finally thought that the police car was gone. He slowly sat up, just taking a last look around, when he heard a loud noise coming from the back of the alley. The door went open and he heard a loud, gentle voice coming from inside the house. Don't forget to put it in the right trash can, honey. He looked directly at the open door when a man came out with a black sack in his hand. The man tossed the sack into the can and turned around to walk back into the house. Don't forget to lock the door, honey. The man didn't seem to notice anything. Jimmy could strongly smell the Christmas dinner. The smell was so lovely he could almost taste it. The man went inside the house as Jimmy followed him with his eyes. A small stripe of light lit up the alley and Jimmy went to the door. He looked with one eye inside the half-open door. He could hear his stomach rumble, but a loud sound of people jiggling and talking drowned out his rumble. He made a quick decision, ran into the house and grabbed a piece of bread. As he turned around, he glanced at a tall woman in a red dress with a Christmas apron.
For a second he froze, just looking at the woman as a happy smile turned sad. She shouted, "What are you doing? Come back!" Jimmy ran out the door, where he first came in and into the alley. He turned around when he reached the corner, looking back to see if the woman was still following him. She wasn't there. The thought that had just got to him when he felt a hard, cold wall smashing into his face. He looked up and saw an old, grumpy police officer. He could feel the fear showing all over his face. "What are you doing, little boy? Anything criminal?" Jimmy was terrified. He couldn't say a word. It was over. He would die outside in the snow, alone, and poor Jimmy thought. There was only one left thing to do for Jimmy. He looked up in the sky and said out loud, "Santa, help me. My only wish is to have a family and a place where I belong." A warm, soft voice broke the silence, and the police officer turned around to see where the voice was coming from. "The boy hasn't done anything. He just went out with the trash." Jimmy turned around and saw a tall woman standing on a porch. She was wearing a red dress and an apron. "Come on up here, or you'll get a cold," he said firmly. Jimmy looked at the woman. She smiled and motioned him to her. Just a few seconds later, Jimmy stood up and walked calm past the police officer up the icy stairs to the front door of the house. "Merry Christmas, then," the police officer said, raising his hat, and he walked further. Jimmy and the woman walked inside. The warm and nice smell of Christmas dinner touched his face. There were candles and Christmas decoration all over the house. He could see the big Christmas tree in the living room from where he stood in the hall. It was beautiful. The woman squatted down so he could look Jimmy right in the eyes. "What are you doing outside on Christmas Eve? Aren't your parents worried about you?" Jimmy looked from his eyes to the floor. "I don't have any parents or a home," he finally said. "What is your name?" she asked. "My name is Jimmy," he answered shy. She smiled and gently took his hand and led him to the dining room. As they got closer, the voices and laughs got louder. They came to the dining room and she stopped in the doorframe. The whole family was there. Grandparents, children, uncles and aunts, everybody was there. After a moment of silence, the grandfather said, "Well, who do we got here?" "This is Jimmy. He will be joining us for Christmas," the woman said. "Then what are we waiting for? Give him a chair, plate, and a blanket too. He must have been freezing out there," the woman's husband said. And the whole family started to get the things they needed for Jimmy.
One of the smaller boys of the family came to Jimmy. Here you go, Jimmy. You can borrow my sweater so you can get warm. He handed Jimmy the sweater and he immediately took it on. Thank you, he said with a sparkling smile. When they all was sitting at the table again and Jimmy had got some food on his plate, they were quiet. He was smiling, just looking at the lovely dinner and then at the family. He turned around and looked out of the window upon the star-filled sky and said, "Thank you, Santa."